and welcome to episode... What episode is this? 202 of The Joy of Coding. Hello, Happy New Year. How's it going? My name's Mike Conley. It's episode 202. And I'm so happy that you're here in 2020. Wow, here we are, January 8th, 2020. Gonna be hacking on some Firefox stuff. Very excited. I'm Okris, I see you in the chat. So good to see you. I'm pleased to report a couple of new things have occurred all at once for the stream. One is I have a new laptop. My desktop might not seem that different because I migrated everything over. But I have a new laptop. I also have a new microphone, and I don't know whether or not, like, how it sounds, if the gain's too high or if it's too low. The VU meter seems to say that we're in an okay zone, but if I'm too loud or there's too much noise, do let me know in the chat. I'm in the live hacking IRC channel, and I'm also in the Twitch chat, paying attention to those. The other thing is, what else about this? Oh, I have a mustache. I don't know if you noticed this, but I am sporting a mustache. This particular mustache is called the Riddler. This is for 1 week only, so this is the only time you're going to see it. But it makes a question mark like this. That's why it's called the Riddler. I need to like fill in this little blank spot here, but otherwise there's your question mark right there. The Riddler. Let's enough yakking. Let's get started. Apparently there's no difference in sound. Well, that's a good thing. But maybe that means that I've got more capabilities with this microphone. Maybe. I think it's simpler. This microphone is simpler, so maybe I'll be able to do more and make it sound even better. Who knows? Let's get started. Enough yakking. So here's my screen. All right. Yeah, today is January 8th, 2020, episode 202. A reminder, even in 2020, no plan survives breakfast. Things could go wrong. I'm using a bunch of new equipment here. I'm using a new laptop. I don't even think I've done a full binary build on this machine yet. So things might go horribly wrong today, even more so than normal. That's okay though, because we're gonna start trying to fix it. That's one of the things that we're gonna do is feel through all this new equipment and see if there are any problems, and if there are any problems, trying to fix them. But that's okay if things go wrong. That's the first thing. And the second thing is the agenda that we're looking at is something that you, the viewers, beloved viewers, you have access to. So if you're watching this on Air Mozilla, check out the handouts section to my left, your right. If you're watching this on YouTube, check the video description down below. And if you're watching this on Twitch, I'm going to drop the link in the Twitch chat. And the question is, what kind of Mac did I get? The 16-inch Pro? Yes, I did. This is, let's see here, 16-inch 2019. It's got the good keyboard. Yes, it does have the touch bar, but it also has an escape key, which I feel very happy about. I was waiting to upgrade. I assumed that Apple would walk back their terrible keyboard, and I was right. So there we go. Patience is a virtue. Okay, so the agenda's all out there. I also want to mention the episode guide. The episode guide is completely viewer-driven. It is a online utility for people who might want to know what's going on in the series. And we've got all the way up until episode 200 here. And when I say viewer-driven, I mean it. These episode guides are all written by viewers just like you, and it's a resource for viewers just like you, which means that if you yourself are watching one of these episodes, maybe you're watching this episode and you have notes or addenda or corrections, or you want to expand on anything I said, perhaps contribute an episode to the episode guide or update an episode guide. If you're watching this in the future and an episode guide for this episode already exists, maybe you want to send a pull request with some addenda. It doesn't matter that the episodes may be back in 2015. If you have an episode, if you have additional stuff you want to add for episode 6 in 2015, I'll take the pull request. And how to do that, how to contribute to the episode guide. Well, it's all hosted here on GitHub, and there's a link in the agenda to the repository. And if you're not sure what a pull request is, then there's a link here that will guide you through what it is, how to send a pull request. There's even a contributing guide for the episode guide right here and how to contribute. And it looks like there is a pull request for the last episode. It was opened 25 days ago by Smurf D, and I haven't addressed it. I'm going to address it right now in front of you. Let's take a quick look. This was the last episode of 2019. It was episode 201. That's correct. It was on December 11th. That's right. And the first thing I like to do with these is I like to make sure that the links are correct. So, yeah, that's December 11th. That's correct, when I had a bit of a beard, but not as much of a mustache. And then we look at the agenda, make sure that the episode agenda is correct. It looks to be correct. And then what were the topics? Well, we were talking about investigating a tart regression. We were talking about a new about profiling page. Yeah, that's coming. Next week, special guest. This didn't actually end up happening, which is unfortunate because I had to cancel due to an unforeseen meeting. And so hopefully I can get time to work with Yuri in a future episode. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. So I'm going to actually, a couple of things. I'm going to update. I'm going to edit the file because I'm going to get rid of this extra E. And I think it's Yuri Wims. Let me just double check. Yuri Wims from the Mozilla Foundation. There we go. That's what I wanted to do there. And then all the rest of this looks fine. So I'm going to merge that in. Thank you. Just correct some spellings. Commit directly to the branch. And then I'm going to merge these in. So thank you very much, Smurf D, for the episode. And I'm going to write that in here. Thanks. So momentarily, episode 201 will be in the episode guide, and or who knows, maybe it's already in there. And if you want to check out the episode guide, there's a link right here in the agenda. So eventually, 201 will be in here, and hopefully 202 will be in here, and we'll have a whole new section for 2020, which will be nice. So let's look at today's agenda. Actually. I've talked about the episode guide. So what are we working on today? Well, the first thing I actually wanted to do some code review. I have some things in my review queue that I want to fix, but as I was setting up the stream, I realized that Wacky Morning DJ is broken. Wacky Morning DJ is a tool I wrote back in 2016, I think. Back in 2015. And I think I introduced it in 2015 in episode 15. Actually, I talked about Wacky Morning DJ. It's viewable here on GitHub. It's been a long time since I've updated it. There are security problems with it, but that's okay because it all runs locally and it doesn't have crazy privileges or anything. But it's not working, and I wanted to find out why. So Wacky Morning DJ is a tool that I use to play the sounds for the show. If you've ever heard me play sound effects, I've got this little tablet here by my side. I don't know if you can see this. I'm holding up the edge of it because it's plugged in. But I've got this tablet where I run the Firefox web browser, and I browse to a web server that Wacky Morning DJ is running on my laptop, and that opens up a WebSocket so that when I press buttons on the web page on my tablet, it sends a signal to my laptop to play a sound. So that's how that works. So the sounds don't come out of the tablet; it comes out of the laptop. That's sort of the difference of that's what's unique about Wacky Morning DJ is that the UI becomes purely for controlling what's running on the server, as opposed to just playing sounds out of the client. So normally whenever I want to run Wacky Morning DJ, I go npm start. But I'm getting this exception, cannot find module, child process close. And it's possible that, I wrote Wacky Morning DJ in 2015. It's possible that some modules didn't get transitioned correctly. Node modules didn't get brought over whenever I migrated everything to this new computer. It's also possible that I'm using a newer version of Node and some of these libraries or modules don't exist for it, I guess. So let's find out. The first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to zoom in here on this error. And I'm going to just search because I have a feeling I'm not the first person to deal with this. And of course we hit Stack Overflow and someone's asking exactly the right question. How do I remedy that error? And apparently you want to remove the node modules, then reinstall node. So I want to blow away my node modules folder and then reinstall node. And that will bring npm back to life. I don't think I use too many global, like system global node modules. Yeah, not too many. So I can probably get rid of these and it'll be okay. Okay, so let's do that. Whoa, whoops, I gotta sudo that. Maybe you just watched me destroy my computer just now. Who knows? But I don't think I did. Now if I do npm start, it's never heard of it. Uninstall node. And then we're going to reinstall node. And then maybe that'll fix it. And then we'll be back. We can go to our code review. Refusing to uninstall because required by yarn, which is currently installed. Brew and then uninstall. Whoa! What the? Did you see that? There's just noise there for a second. That was freaky. Actually, uninstall yarn, I guess. Okay, uninstall node. Cool. Now reinstall node. Oh, not yarn. Brew install node. Was there noise? Like, did you hear something as well, or was it just visual noise? Because I didn't hear any sounds, but I definitely just saw my secondary monitor here just went like. So let's see, npm install. Is that how you do that for like the local npm start? Oh, that's working. So maybe we're up and running here. What's my IP address? What network am I on? Oh, I'm on the wrong network. That's not gonna help. So let me switch networks. Switching networks. Hold up. Okay. So that's disconnected me from IRC and the chat. I'm reconnecting now. I'm back. Hi, everybody. And what's my IP address? I'm doing this off screen. I don't know why. I just don't want to share my IP address with you. What is it? It's even just like the local network IP address. I don't know why it's such a big deal. I just why share it when I don't need to? But I need to find it. God. This is. Oh, there it is. Okay. I think this device has like a lot of networking capabilities, or way more devices than I'm used to. All right, here we go. This number followed by this number, followed by another number, followed by this number, followed by this port. 3,000. 3,000. Hey, so the server's picked up that I've connected, and yay, sound effects work. So Wacky Morning DJ is working. Hopefully, I don't know if am I reconnected? Am I back in the channel? Oh, sorry. My apologies. If there was anything being said in the Twitch chat while I was disconnected, and my IRC client just crashed. Let me respawn. And it didn't save any of my settings, which means which means no Twitch chat for me. Sorry, folks. I'm going to reconnect to the Mozilla live hacking channel, but I'm not going to be in the Twitch chat for the remainder of the episode. I apologize. But I will connect to the Mozilla one because that's easy for me to do. I'm calling live hacking. And on login, I need you to join the live hacking IRC channel. Okay. Connect. So if you need to chat with me, I am in the live hacking IRC channel again. My apologies. So, ta-da! Things going wrong, but that's okay. Let's now go to what it was that I want to do whenever I started this episode, which was code review. So I have 4 items in my review queue. Pull up my review queue here. One of them is from very early on, or earlier in the month, January 3rd. So I'm going to start looking at that first. I'm going to do them in order. So I'm going to start here, then I'm going to do these 2, and then I'm going to do this one. So here we go. This patch comes to us from Gabriel Svelto, who is working on this bug, 1596737. So what I like to do before I look at the patches, look at what the bug's about. So in this patch, or in this bug, Gabrielle is saying a hang will usually have multiple mini dumps and an associated extra file. For example, boop boop boop. When submitting one from the info bar, one should end up with an empty .ignore file. Unfortunately, it seems that this method is missing the additional mini dumps, so one ends up like this instead. Browser.dump. Because we submit orphan mini dumps, this could skew our crash stats. Notice multiple overlapping issues that all boil down to a single thing. We don't have an object that represents a crash, and all the code that deals with the various files will often look only at a subset of them. Additionally, it seems like we're not deleting outdated crashes anymore, and we don't send them either, which might cause problems to use in the long run. So what does he do? Properly remove additional mini dumps when submitting a crash report. Interesting. So yeah, whenever we submit a crash report from the info bar, that's something that we do in pre-release versions of Firefox, where if we notice that that we have these stored crash reports, but we haven't sent them, we give the user the ability to send them with a notification bar at the bottom. And if the user says, like, don't send these crash reports, then we mark them by writing to the file or renaming the file with a .ignore at the end, so that we know that we don't need to look at them anymore. It's sort of a hacky, ham-fisted way of doing it. And apparently, this misses additional mini dumps. It misses the other mini dumps. Oh, very interesting. So what's in crash submit? When we submit a file, things to delete, memory, entry. What is additional dumps? So I'm going to figure out how this works first. That's the first step to do a proper code review. What is additional dumps? So additional dumps, we have the submitter class written using the old style JavaScript prototype mechanism for doing classes. And it starts being empty. And then what gets added to it? When we clean up, we null it out. Where do we add to it? Okay. Additional mini dumps is something that's part of the extra key values. So in the .extra file, there will be metadata that says that there are additional mini dumps associated with a particular crash. And so what it does is it takes the additional mini dumps string, splits them, and puts the name and then the dump, get pending mini dump, the ID, the name, So it's like, would be like browser or extra memory or something. And then we push those on. And we wait until we assert that, like we make sure that all of them exist. And if they don't all exist, we blow away. We just bail out and we delete the files. Otherwise, so what we do is we are putting in an object with the name, which will be something like extra memory or browser, etc., and then the actual dump file. Is that right? Is that what get pending mini dump does? Oh, I see. For each of the .dump, .extra, .memory, .json, .gz strings, we will return the path. Okay, I see. We'll return the paths to potential extra files. Potential additional dump files. We only want the dump version, the first argument. Because we can have we can have a mini dump from multiple processes. Like when we have a mini dump from the content process, we get one from the parent process, etc. Okay. Make sure it exists. So the dump in this case is the path to the file for the additional mini dump. And what were we doing before? We're going through and we were pushing on to this array. We were pushing the object, which contains a name and a dump path. And that's just wrong because the object osfile.remove expects a string as the first argument. Osfile async front. Remove. Message path. It expects a path, as the first argument. Nor absent. If false, throw an error if the file doesn't exist. True by default. So because the path doesn't exist, we don't throw an exception. We just silently ignore it. So that makes perfect sense why we'd want to fix this, because in the additional dumps, we have these additional dump entries, and we actually want the dump file. Yeah, whoops. Whoops. Good catch. Do we have... Where are the tests for this stuff? Crash Porter. Let's see. Whoops, good catch. Would be worth adding a test for this too, but I wouldn't. I don't think we need to block landing the fix on that at the very least. Can we get a bug on file to add a test to ensure that we clean up these files properly? Submit. Done. All right. Next thing to review. One of these two. Let's do this one first. So this is a utility from one of my colleagues, Alex Surkov. This is a utility script that he wants to add that makes it easier to construct documents dynamically for testing against. So this is all just test stuff. It's like test utilities. The accessibility code had this thing called Document Builder, and he's basically making it more available outside of the accessibility code into like the rest of the code base. So this is the SJS file, which is like the server JavaScript that what happens is like you point the browser at this .sjs endpoint, and then you can pass in a string in the query params, and the SJS is like the server will receive the request with that string as part of the query params and then echo back that string as the document body. So it's a way for us to like write a test where we need the server to echo back a particular page. We can like point the browser at this page and then pass in the string, the body of the document that we want to be echoed back and rendered in the browser. So it's pretty handy. Let's take a look here. So he's just getting rid of all of the like importing of the utility file, and and because it's going to go into the root directory, we don't have to do all of this current fileder stuff. Moved this to here, and then he added it to the build stuff in the Moki testing files, and then he updated this test saying that so here he's actually using it. Like, so he passes, he says the source is the echo server file and then passes the HTML that we want actually rendered, as opposed to having the separate file. And where is the separate file? Content title. Test scroll is initiated in out-of-process iframe having no scrollable area. Out-of-process iframe having no scrollable area. So there's no reason for it to do any of this advanced stuff. File content title is being used in this test as well as this test. Makes sense to use it here to ensure that the title gets updated. Don't necessarily need to use it here. Okay, so I think that's reasonable. I think this is great. I think this is really great. Let me just make sure that there weren't any other document builder, Vision document builder usages in the tree. So there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 references in our tests. Let's make sure that we got them all. And accessible tests, browser bounds, browser any. Yeah. And accessible test, browser any. Yeah. And in E10S, browser any. Yeah. And then Fission browser any. Yep. And then Fission browser nested iframe. Yep. And then finally shared head. Whoops. Shared head. So great. I'm really happy with this. This is great. Thank you, A. Surkov. Surkov? So great. Thank you, Surkov. I can see this being really, really useful in the long run for everybody writing tests. Especially ones that involve iframes. This might be worth a post to Firefox Dev about Firefox Dev platform. This might be worth a post to Firefox dev/dev platform in order to let people know that it exists and how to use it. Let's actually also take a look at the file that got moved. Currently, so not a amazing amount of documentation on how to use this file, but it looks like it takes two arguments. So you can either pass it an HTML query string param, and then it will render that, or you can pass it a file path, presumably, and it will load things from a separate file and spew it out as HTML. But it replaces content document must be loaded in the iframe. Okay, interesting. Anyway, very happy with this and how to use it. So accept. That's great. I'm really, really pleased with that. That's going to make writing tests easier. And it's always good to make test writing easier. All right, the next thing is this patch from Neil Deacon. Opening the find bar broke content. Smurfy says, I think you had another file being moved in that previous bug. Let's see. So Vision Document Builder was being moved and renamed. Is there another one? This is just saying like moved to, moved from. So it's the same file, but it's saying that like, hey, that Vision Document Builder, it's now called this. Oh, hey, I added this file, but it is actually from this. That's what's going on there. So it was only one file that was being moved. But good eye. I'm glad you're keeping an eye out. Glad to know you're watching, Smurf D.
I just spill your beans.
There you go. Where was I? I want to review. Yeah, this one from Neil. Oh, I already had it open. Sorry, it's this one. So what is the bug? So this was reported about a month ago, and the patch went up yesterday. The issue seems to be reproducible in 71. Open any page with content editable. For example, this. Open the search bar using Control F. Focus the content editable elements. Start navigating using keyboard keys. Okay, and then open Control F. I don't really get it. So you open the search bar. The issue didn't hear on Firefox 70. I can reproduce the issue. Open any page with content editable. All right, let me start by opening a non-Fission window because I've got Fission enabled. Alice always has great steps to reproduce. Focus the content editable with a click. Open the find bar with Control F. Oops. this. All right, maybe I did those steps wrong. Let's start over. Start over. Okay. Focus here, then Control F, then focus here. Oh, I can still move. But maybe it's because it's Windows. Neil couldn't reproduce this bug. After closing the find bar. Like, how do you reproduce this? Opening the find bar, broke content editable caret moving. So there are two patches here. Let's take a look and see what his solution is. The first solution is, well, the first part is to make it so that you can say where messages are going inside our utility script here. Value of the scope argument determines which browsing contexts are sent to. False, undefined, empty string, send only to the top level actor. All, send all descended child frames. Roots, send only to process roots. A Boolean value is allowed for backwards compatibility. Okay. Send only to process roots. Send children. Window global and child scope's not roots, or window global is process root. So if the child scope's not roots, send the message. Spoji from Twitch says it can be reproduced on Windows. Interesting. Maybe I need to boot my I moved it. Oh, hey, Spoji. Oh, also, I don't know if anyone heard the news. Maybe I'll let me write it in here. I think it was mentioned a couple of weeks ago before holidays, but we're switching. Mozilla is switching to Matrix / Riot for chat. Did I mention that? Mention it? Didn't mention it. Well, that's what's happening. We're switching, and there's a blog post. Mozilla Matrix. Welcome. Where is it? There was a Matrix blog post. Blog post from Matrix, and a announcement from Mozilla. Announcement from Mozilla. And that means that IRC is going to stop being the thing to be soon. So I'm actually going to start removing some of this information soon. Once the new Matrix server is up and running, I'm going to join there, and then I'm going to just start getting people away from IRC and into Riot / Matrix. And then eventually I'm going to evict everyone from the live hacking channel in IRC and basically tell them all, use Matrix and Riot and join live hacking there. And and I'll give as much information as I can so that we can all migrate. And that's where we're going to be talking. And then I guess I'll have to find a way of still using Twitch chat. Maybe there's a client. Maybe there's a way I can get Riot to talk to Twitch chat as well. I don't know. But just keep that in mind. So that's a little bit of a distraction. What did I want to... Oh, yeah, I was reviewing this patch. And I also wanted to test the bug. Scooby boop ba doo 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 doo. That's modern input for your keyboard even while using other apps. No, I don't want to do that. Do I have an operating system here? What's going on? Restart. Uh-oh, my Windows 7 VM might be broken. Well, in that case, let me try and remote into my... Oh, no, there it is. It's restarting. Meanwhile... Oh, yep. That sounds positive, except that I can't see anything. Why can't I see anything? Display adapter. What had the display? All right. Display. How do I get it to display? All right. Well, I'll have to figure this out another time. Can I communicate with my PC? Nope. Can't communicate with my PC for some reason. Oh, is it because I'm using... desktop? It was another thing I had for doing connecting to my machine. What was it? I can't remember how to use the computer. Oh man. Client will soon be deprecated. What do you want me to use instead? Oh, do I have to install a thing from the App Store? Oh, man. I don't care. Remote desktop. Microsoft Remote Desktop 10. Oh, apparently I already have it. Continue. Okay. Okay. Yeah, okay, so I had it. It's just I had the wrong one selected here. I don't know why I still have this one. Options, don't keep in the dock. We're going to quit. That goes away. And then this one we're going to keep in the dock. Cool. All right, now I'm going to connect to my Windows machine. And can't find it. I am on the right network. Well, going to have to sort that one out later. Anyway. Let's assume that it is a real bug. Let's assume it's a real bug. Let's go back to Neil's patch. So Neil is making it, we have this utility inside of the browser custom element. And the browser custom element is what represents the top level like content area of the of a browser tab. And there's a utility for the privileged JavaScript in there where for Fission, we need to be able to like communicate with different frames. And there are different strategies for communicating with all of the frames or some of the frames. So for example, you might want to send a message to just the top level frame. There are certain, like, for example, if we want to query on, like, I don't know, something silly like what the page title ought to be, which we don't do. The page tells the parent what to update the page title. The parent doesn't ask for it. The child sends it. But were the parent to do that, it would only need to talk to the top level frame because that's the one that influences the actual title in the tab item. And sometimes you want to talk to just the roots, what's called the process contiguous roots. So that means frames where they have no same process parent, that they're the only, that they have no parent, but they might have 0 or more children that are in the same process, but they have no in-process parent. Those are called process contiguous roots. And then, and that might not be the top level frame because you could have like an out of process iframe, and that will be a process contiguous root if it's not in the same frame as the top level frame. And then the other strategy is just messaging everybody, and that's what he's added here, is the ability to send a message to everybody, not just the process contiguous roots. So what he's done is he's made it so that this utility, the send message to actor utility, can take an argument where you tell it who you're targeting. So for example, when we're switching the document direction, we only need to talk to the roots. When we're doing full zoom, we only talk to the roots. When we do zoom, we talk to the roots. We're sending audio playback information, we only talk to the roots. Purging the session history, talk to the roots. Auto scroll stuff, we talk to the roots. And then he's updated the comment to say you can pass in false to only send to the top level actor, all to send the descendant child frames. You can pass in false, undefined, or the empty string, true or roots to send to the process roots. So that all makes sense. And then he's adapted these to use roots instead of true. And then there's apparently also a similar function inside of Toolkit Content Widgets Editor, the editor widget. Don't know why, but that's the way it is. Now, who's using all? Is anyone? Oh, he's got a second patch in here. That's probably going to be using all child actors. Oh, he wrote a test. Very good. So here, instead of sending the find bar update state to just the top level frame, he sends it to everybody. Okay. It'd be really nice if I could like reproduce this bug. Am I not reproducing it correctly? Like I use the command F to open the find bar, I type some stuff, and then do I need to like, what do I need to do? What am I missing? What am I missing to reproduce the bug? Close the VM. Accidentally quit Firefox. Close the VM. Okay. So that's nice, and that is not what I'm being asked to review. I'm being asked to review the thing that lets us send those messages. So let's focus on that. So I think this is the real meat and potatoes, and then down here is just a copy. So we have to make sure that the copies are in sync. It'd be nice if there wasn't a copy, if we could just like unify it somehow, but let's think about this for now, just how this works. So before, what we were doing Yeah, true or false to all descendant processes. Newest nightly seems to change the help about Firefox dialog window, says Smurf D. Apparently my steps are fine, according to Spoji. Okay, well that's good. Oh wow, holy smokes. That does look wrong. This is wrong. That's not... Let me just double check. I have a feeling people will have noticed that. Let me just check and see if there's a bug open for... Yeah, here, found it. About Firefox dialog is spread over too many lines. So let me copy that, put it in the agenda. About dialog looks wrong. I'll also drop this into the IRC. There you go, Smurf D. That's apparently it's closed, so they fixed it 7 hours ago. So it'll be in the next nightly. And that's why we have nightly. I wonder what regressed it. Probably some Zool stuff. Anyway, okay, so back to what we were focusing on. Try and focus on this a little bit. He says, pulling out his phone because it beeped at him. Okay. Message name. So what we were doing before is we were getting the top level browsing context. And if there wasn't one, so there's this workaround for such and such, which was removed. Ah, so we don't need that workaround anymore? That's nice that we don't need the workaround. So he's removing that workaround while he's at it. And instead, we have this child function called send to children. Instead of it being send to children with check root, now it's called child scope. Okay, so there's no frame loader, we bail out. We don't do the workaround, and then the first thing we do is we define this function, and then we say send to children. We pass in the browsing context, we pass false. So our send to children browsing context child scope, it's capturing the scope in its closure. So it's going to make reference to this outer argument inside, I think, here. Yeah, right here. So the way it works is false is passed first to always send to the top level browsing context. So we enter here, we get the current window global. If there's a window global and the child scope is not equal roots, which it won't be for the very first time, it'll be false, or window global is process root, which it might be. In fact, it will be. It will be the top one. The top level browsing context will be a process root. So we will get the actor and we'll send the message. Scope will be all or roots if we enter here. This is really awkward because strings can coerce to Booleans. The empty string, if you're familiar with JavaScript, you might know this. Let me clear here. Equals true. Yeah, it doesn't. The empty string is false. any string that's not the empty string is equal to A equals true. What? If B alert test. Right. B is truthy. We can coerce strings. If alert should not alert. Right. The empty string is considered falsy, and any non-empty string is considered truthy. And so this makes me really uncomfortable because we are like saying, this makes sense. If you pass in false, undefined, or the empty string, that's false. But if we pass in true, all will coerce to true. And roots also coerces to true. So this is like a little bit ambiguous. I mean, from the external caller, it's not ambiguous because they know what they're passing, hopefully. But internally, depending on how it's handled, it can be ambiguous. Boolean value is allowed for backwards compatibility. Backwards compatibility, I have to admit, I'm kind of reluctant to have an argument here that can be either a Boolean or a string, and if it's a string, be one of several strings. That sounds like a foot gun, considering that strings coerce pretty easily to Booleans. Coerce to Booleans. And so different strings, different non-empty strings can coerce to true. Why do we need backwards compatibility here? What are we trying to support that we can't change in the same commit? Okay. Send to children. So we send it to the first child, and then we go, check to see if there's scope. And in the case of sending to, say, all, then scope would be defined. We're going to go get all the children for the browsing context, and then we're going to all send to children on it, passing the scope. So if the child scope is not equal to the root, what if it is equal to the root? If child scope is equal to root, then we will fail this, but then it is a process root, so then we will enter this. And if we're sending not to roots, then we must be passing to all if there is a... What if we passed in false? If we passed in false, then it will also be a process root. So it's like, this is one of those sort of like clever things where like it's not really obvious, but what this is doing, alright, is that we're saying just roots or everybody, or just roots or just myself. If just root, then if it's not roots, then it's all. So we're gonna pass. That's gonna be true if child scope is false. Child scope is false, and we only send to the top level actor. So this will work, but the API, like the function signature is, it worries me. Like it's a little too clever. I guess we had that same cleverness before. This isn't really Neil's fault or anything. This isn't, I'm not playing the blame game here, but it'd be great if this was just clearer. Same as above. Why do we need to maintain this interface? Maintain the Boolean interface. Otherwise, this looks the same. Well, like, I guess I should offer an alternative. Could we instead have the following arguments, following values for scope? Undefined. Send to top level actor. All. Send to all frames. Roots. Send to all. Process contiguous roots. You almost want like an enum. Alternatively, perhaps we can clean and make this easier by having multiple functions that call to a common helper function. Functions like send message to top level actor, send message to all actors, send message to process root actors. That call into a common helper functions like this way we can at least encapsulate the different modes of the helper function in one place. The functions calling the helper function. That's what I would suggest. And I'd really like to know why this was copied. What's this for? Ace Man. For Thunderbird, this was used for Thunderbird. Why browser and find bar is expecting to call send message to actor So they've got this thing called an editor, which is not exactly a browser, but it's got it. Got it. Okay. So the find bar just kind of like doesn't care. This is polymorphism. It just like will call the function send message to actor. How does this work? Browsing context. Oh, because it inherits from Zool frame element. Zool frame element. Why do we need to maintain the Boolean interface for COM Central? COM Central being Thunderbird and SeaMonkey. I wonder if, in the long run, we should have these send message methods defined on Zool frame element. Instead. Or have, can you use like JavaScript class, mixin? Mixin. I could do it that way. Not amazing. Could do it that way. Mix in to avoid having to duplicate this logic. Thanks, Neil. I think my main question is about the function interface here, because it seems like it could be confusing, problematic in the long run to hack on. I'm already familiar with send async or send message to actor. And even I had to take a few minutes to parse how the scope and child scope arguments were being used to target various browsing contexts. Curious to know your thoughts. Below notes, below questions. Thanks. done. So it's 2:15. One of the things I want to do, let me just check here, my messages. Which one's better? And the way. So Alex Surkov is asking how to message Firefox Dev and Dev Platform the way I suggested in my code review. So hold on, the way I tend to do it is to send a message to, say, Firefox Dev and send a separate copy to Dev Platform, but at the top of the Dev Platform message say that it's cross-posted to Firefox Dev and that any replies should happen in the Firefox Dev post as a way of centralizing the conversation if any were to arise. Okay. All right. You know what? I think I'm actually going to stop here. I do have one more patch in the queue. Well, let's take a quick look at it anyways. So this is something that Gabriel Luong, who periodically hacks on picture-in-picture, hacked together. He wanted to make it so that you could proxy keyboard events from the picture-in-picture player window to the originating tab. And I wanted to see how he's doing it. He said it wasn't working, so let's find out. Key down. Event key code. Send the message. Picture-in-picture key down. Passes the key code. Video. Keyboard event key down. Bubbles cancel. Key code. That looks right. So he was saying this wasn't working. I wonder if you need to like synthesize key event. Then util synthesize key. Synthesize key. Tip. New keyboard event. Let's get tip. Oh, text input processor. What's that used for? Text input processor. Dictionary. Synthesizing composition. Emulate to activate modifiers. That's using tip.keyDown key event. So maybe that's what one needs to use here. Get tip, the text input processor. Let's take a look at that file. It's used for IME, which is generally used for like IME is used for like I think Chinese characters. It's like an on-screen keyboard. Or Japanese characters. Yeah. Select IME. Right. And you start your word processor. And then as you're typing in, hiragana is going to appear on screen. That's to type Japanese characters. And it looks like text input processor is used when synthesizing key events. You tip key down with the key event. I wonder if there's another example of getting at the text input processor from privileged JavaScript code, not in tests. Doesn't look like it. Text input processor. How about the interface? NSI text input processor. Looks like it's only used for tests. Well, it's 2:22. What do I want to do to test this? Let's just see if we can pull this patch down and confirm what Gabriel is seeing. Using MozFab, and I'm pulling down, oh, I'm installing a new version of MozFab, and that's going to pull down this patch. And I have changes present, so I have to, whoops, I had some silly logging from a different session. Okay, so we've got our patch applied. Let us now run build faster. We're going to build artifact for fastness. And what we'll do is we'll run, and we're going to find a website where there are keyboard shortcuts for the video. So for example, I know that on Facebook, if you press the letter F, it full screens the video. So I'm going to mute. So the goal being that if I press F here, oh, see? Oh, that's interesting. Permission denied. Ah, you know why it's probably not working? It's because we're constructing the event in privileged scope. On key down. Key down. What? Picture in picture child. Do I have this right? Picture in picture child. Key. Key down. Oh, it's just key down. content window, we create a new keyboard event. I wonder if we need to like the key code, we need to like clone it in. Clone into. Let event equals cu clone into. Yeah, that's what I think we need to do. Let's try this. Equals let event details equal cu dot clone into. We pass in this stuff, and then we say this dot content window. And then we pass in event details. And what's it complaining about? Prettier. Oh, Prettier is not happy with. Can it just fix it? Prettier is like, no. I don't know what Prettier wants me to do, but let's see if this works. So I'm gonna quit. Build faster, and then. So cloning into is to prevent like stuff from privileged scope from accidentally entering an unprivileged scope. In this case, YouTube's execution scope. So you have to like clone things instead of just passing memory into unprivileged scope, or passing objects into unprivileged scope. We clone the objects. So still doesn't like it. Permission denied to access detail. Let me make sure that let's pause this Hell's Kitchen thing. We're going to make sure that the picture-in-picture child key down that we're cloning. Yeah. Keyboard event, dispatch event. Maybe let's see if I can find an example of keyboard event. .js. New. So it's like it's processing the event, but like, here, let's get here, and we say, yo, dispatch, and it does the dispatch, but then it's not allowed to permission is denied accessing the key code or the detail. Key code. I have a pause on exceptions and then here we go. We are accepted here. Let's look in the console. What is in our scope here? Block. Oh, A is the event. A is the event. Key code. Char code. Can't access alt key. Can't access any of the event properties. Interesting. Can't access any of the event properties. So that's really interesting. Dispatch event .js content search child. Dispatch event to Chrome only. You like the content actors, the actors, where we might dispatch an event. .jsm. This one, the manifest one. EV, new event. We don't pass any arguments. Window detail. It's no good because about logins is something we control. Detail, clone into detail when. Maybe we need to event details. Key down event. Any examples of this being used? Alt key true. Meta key. Looks like I'm using it right. Sudo clone into. Detail, event name, custom event, bubbles, and the detail. Maybe, does the key code individually need to? That would make no sense. But let's see. Key code is Cu clone into key code. Step content window. All right, let's start. If this doesn't work, I'm just gonna call it here. But let's take a quick look. Mock build faster and run. Load YouTube. Gordon Ramsay. The F key works, and then picture in picture, and now F key. Nothing. Permission denied to access the property. Permission denied to access the property. And it's a different message, like, but I think that's ultimately the problem, is that we're not like cloning correctly into the document. So I could talk to our security people about this. But for now, I think I'm going to end the stream. Hey, thank you so much for watching episode 202 of The Joy of Coding. I hope that was interesting. Did a bunch of code review. Got what did we do? We got Wacky Morning DJ working, and I've got a new computer, and I've got this fancy microphone, and like hopefully it's all working out. I didn't figure this thing out yet, but I have a sense of what's going wrong. Next week I should be streaming still. I think the week after that. Let's see let me pull up my calendar. 1 second. Let me pull up my calendar. Just a heads up that yes, I am streaming next week, which is the 15th, and I will be streaming on the 22nd. However, the 29th and the 5th, I am away. So, no streaming on January 29th or February 5th because I am away. But I will be streaming up until then, and we'll see where things go. And maybe before then, I suspect before we stop streaming, we will have the Matrix server at Mozilla up and running, and then we can start chatting there. And then maybe I can figure out a way of like connecting Twitch to Matrix or something. We'll see how it goes. All right, well, I'm going to end it here. Thanks again for watching episode 202 of The Joy of Coding. Have yourself a great week. I will talk to you next week. Take care. Bye-bye. Hang on, gotta get Wacky Morning DJ. Now it's fixed. I gotta play the closing sound. Hold on. Wake up. Wake up, wake up, tablet. Okay, let me try that again. Thanks for watching episode 202 of The Joy of Coding. See you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.
The joy of coding.
See ya.